Right, we're live. So, thank you for coming onto this podcast with me, Jeremy. I'm grateful to you for being here.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you for the invite.
cool, thank you. So you mentioned to me, so I reached out to you and I asked, would you be open relating to having a conversation with three specific topics: emotional control, so that negative and toxic energies do not build up, the dangers of excessive technology, and as well as that, emotional immersion, so that you can create a fulfilling, so an enriching and nourishing bond and a bond of fulfillment between parents and child. Now, I understand, before I give the floor to you, um, and I just want to say, you told me that you have quite a number of children, isn't it? Quite a few.
Yes, five boys, nonetheless.
So please do it. Tell me, because I've got a lot to say. But I think as I'm embarking on my or our podcast journey, because it's our journey with each and every guest, right?
Sure.
Everyone's contributing to the process, and you get better as you go along, right?
Hmm.
So and how do I say this, like, you see, like, judges scales, and the best analogy I can give you, so when and conversations in art, right? So say, like, person A is talking this much and the scales are way up here, and then person B's like and they're too far out of balance. This is not good. So I'm getting better at this as I'm going on with experience. But with
Sure.
all this with all this said, Jeremy, may I ask you, how's your journey been with five boys? Please.
It's a roller coaster ride, and you hear all of the cliches, about raising lots of kids. But it truly has been. And and I'll preface it by saying our three youngest, so we have two sets, our two olders, which are 17 and 15 right now. They are our biological kids. And then our three younger ones, stair step 10, 9, and 8, those three are adopted. So it's an interesting dynamic in our home.
Wow, that is indeed quite the journey for sure.
Yeah.
I guess my next question would be, um, obviously, and I assume this, I kind of know without knowing. Correct me if I am wrong. You mentioned adoption and biological, and so an assumption of mine, although I think it's an accurate one, would you say that now it's like everything's, how do I put this? And everyone feeling valued and loved equally and fairly is at that stage now. But like, when it was so fresh, being the adoption and biological, how did you navigate through that and, like, find a balance with, like, value, love, all these things, if I may ask?
Yes, that was a topic of many conversations with our biological boys who were pretty young at the time. There's about a 5-year spread there,
Mhm.
and we adopted each one of our youngest at birth, so it happened at birth. But we had the conversation with them, just making them a part of the decision. We weren't set until we were sure they were on board. So even in their 7 and 5-year-old minds, is
Yes.
this something you'd want to do? How do you feel about it? We'd process that with them over and over, not just one conversation. And then we're very open about it. For one, our younger boys are a different color than us, so it's quite apparent. So we're very open about them being adopted, and we have these conversations a lot. What love is, what makes up a family, and I think that has helped tremendously. As opposed to some families, for their own reasons, try to kind of hide those things, but for us, this is an ongoing conversation that is a part of who we are.
Oh, absolutely. And, I identify with you in a different way, and multiple of them at that. Um, what I'll say for now is I can understand, and I'm not putting this out as facts with you necessarily, although I am saying that it's a big, um, it's a or an intricate reason as to why many want to adopt, because some people are blessed and lucky. If you're dealt the right cards in life, you get on well with your family. right?
Hmm.
And other people aren't so lucky.
Yeah.
And I identify, and I'm not saying this is you necessarily. However, I am putting out to adoption as a whole, because my story very quickly is, I'm parenting across generations from different sides of the family. And
Wow.
the reason for this is because my son lost his mummy to COVID-19. Although I don't think it was
Wow.
COVID, I think it was the injection that did that,
Mm.
but that's my
Wow.
personal beliefs. But
Sure.
but it's left us in a um impossible situation, an incredibly unique one at that. Because
Hmm.
you think about it, three left in the family, different sides of the family, the age discrepancies. I'm 37 now. My son just turned 7.
Okay.
Mother-in-law's 73. And long story short, without losing you, um, because there's three of us left sticking to the why I feel many adopt. Because a lot of, yeah, granted, we're from different sides of the family, but it's also, it can get very ugly when there's children involved.
That's right.
Does that make sense? Um,
Yes.
and a lot of family, blood related family members, many people, me included, although we're not blood per se, our connection between me and my mother-in-law is indeed our son. So we're kind of blood, if that makes sense. But
Hmm. Yeah.
how do I say this? Because of the situation, it's created much conflict, different beliefs, core values, generational upbringing. You know, her way being respectfully in her era of
Yes.
her style of parenting, my way being younger, and we're in a current bitter tug of war with like me getting my son and going through that family court system and things like this.
Wow.
And it's very tricky. But my point is, one thing I will say to you is that children know the truth. They always feel the truth,
Hmm.
and they can't be, because their innocence is too pure, and they don't lie when, especially when they're young, like 5, 6, 7. You know, they tell the
Yeah.
truth. And I don't want to go on and on, but like all I'm trying to say is, the last thing I'll say is that um through, I can see why many, using my story as an example to you. Does that make sense? I can
Yeah.
see why many go or undergo the adoption process, being that
Sure.
many families are blood blood relatives, or how family treat each other, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes adoption, and it goes to show you that you can very much kindredly, spiritually be in love, even if you're not blood related, right? So,
That's right. Yes. Yeah, it certainly we've seen some points of contention. My oldest of the youngest three at one point became very frustrated with something we were requiring the family to participate in, and he said, "So if I wasn't part of this family, if you didn't adopt me, I wouldn't have to do this." And it was kind of his first, moment of understanding that he's adoption means he's in a different family than he was biologically, and
yes.
and we saw that as an opportunity. And we had already taken each one of them, separately to have the conversation that they had been adopted. But I took that moment. I said, "Hey, let's go get some ice cream together." So we took a little drive, and I drove him where we found his biological mother, and
Yes.
just shared the story with him of our process. And he has, since that day, we've had a few conversations, but he has never questioned his being a part of our family since that day. But I am hyper aware, I think, because of that
Yeah.
comment, that tension is there for him, and I'm sure
Yeah.
his two younger brothers, and it will come. That wow, this is something he really has to wrestle with, and it'll be their whole lives. But I want them to know that they are loved and accepted by us, even when things get tough. And I think that's the hardest moment. I mean, they're our kids, all five. We treat them, generally the same as much as you do any siblings. But
Yes.
but in moments of frustration and difficulty, it can be tough to ensure that you're sharing love to those who may be questioning what that means and what it is.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And especially, and I dare say, as they morph into teenagehood as well, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, that's right.
that's when, like, and they're a lot smarter than we give them credit for. Now they think they know everything, and especially these days they do,
That's right.
um, and they obviously don't because you can't beat life experience, right? However, that being said, I've met some incredibly smart teenagers, and they're a lot smarter than many give them credit for, in my
Mhm.
opinion. They write them off saying, "Oh, you're young and you're dumb." And no, that's not true. They feel deeply, and especially if they have such a sense of urgency and passion behind wanting to make their way into the real world from their young, delicate teenage brain, and morphing into real adulthood. And you know what I'm saying, and you know better than I do ever. So,
Uh-huh. Yeah, very true. That's a hard time, and that's where in my life's work, I've done a lot of nonprofit work
yeah,
here in the Midwest of the United States, and led me to launch our most recent project, Living Adventure, we call it, in the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And so as kids become teenagers, they get these ideas and the idea to start a business or to sell something, and
yeah,
so it's all about kind of let's catch that momentum, that spark in them, and let's really light the fire so they can explore and not all, maybe even not the majority will go on to own their own business into adulthood and make a success out of it, but they begin to learn how to uh, I say they learn self-control and discipline, and just learn so much about interacting with other people that even if they do go to work for a boss or an owner somewhere else, they understand how it works and how to communicate, and they have much better success in it because of that past experience. A lot of what I
oh,
had to learn in adulthood, I'm hoping they learn prior to.
for sure. I mean, and technology in itself is not a bad thing at all. Too much technology excessively, obviously, and this is one of our topics of discussion, can be detrimental to the child's emotional, psychological, and spiritual health, right? Because it like, this is just my opinion. I think you'll agree. Like, too many parents just do this and they dump the device in front of the child's face for peace and quiet every day. But they do that every single day. Man, those days turn to weeks. Those weeks turn to months. Those months turn to multiple months. Those multiple months turn to years. And next thing you know, after those multiple years turn to all of a sudden they're a teenager, next step, and then next thing you know, they're zombified like this, dead-eyed teenager that can't express their suppressed emotions because they haven't been taught how. So they've been
Yeah,
like learning through the screen, right? Now, that being said, that's obviously lazy parenting and excessive technology, and that's our job to prevent that. However, technology in itself, as long as we're in control of it, it's a beautiful thing. And case in point, with children, how they're so able to learn really quick. I mean, 11-year-olds now can, with AI, of course, they can do games and like plan things out and this and that and unheard of in our day, right?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it's a tough one because they've got to learn technology to survive in this new culture and
Yeah,
era. Uh,
yes.
but how do we keep from letting that control us and define us? And for me, I've done a little writing on this and working on some larger writing and
Mhm.
challenges even. But we believe in participating in micro adventures.
Yes.
So each day, or even on vacations, or if I have to bring the boys to work with me, it's always a drag. But we try to find a little micro adventure, a little detour, even if it's a simple something I try to do each day is drive a different way to work, and I work in various
Yeah.
places. So I'll take a new path, and you just see a new street, you see new people, new faces, a new part of your town, and if we open our eyes, we start to observe those things and notice things around us. And for my boys, it's the same. Hey, go to the backyard and find something new, or hey, let's stop at this shop we've never stopped at before and check it out. But it's about getting away from the screen, getting away from the
Yeah.
technology, and just experiencing the real world around us.
Oh, for sure. If I may chime in, like, this is an incredible, powerful point you're putting forth because I think the best way to contextualize it is that if we do the same things over and over and over again, it feels like formulaic, mundane, right? And
Hmm.
therefore, especially with a child, adults too, but especially with a child, the brain's not being stimulated. So we need to like have that, like you say, to your point, it's beautiful. Trying new things, see new faces, new shops, environments, backgrounds, something, buildings, architecture, and then you can just by seeing that, like the parent could be like, "Wow, this looks amazing," or even the child could be like, "You know what, Dad? I love the look of this building," and that just opens the door to a potential aha moment of 10 minutes or 15 minutes of deep, thought-provoking conversation, right?
Right.
Away from the screen, as an example.
That's right. Yeah, it gives us something to talk about, and I think that's a lot of what families miss too when we're absorbed by
Uh,
screens, and
oh yes.
there's nothing interesting I can relay from the screen to conversation that lasts very long, But in life, we have these experiences, and wow, it comes to life, and it's something fun to remember, and maybe how we failed at it is something we can all laugh at later in life, and it's that common bond that brings us together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and and you build off that rapport as well because energy is everything, right? And there's good energy as we all know, and then there's bad energy. And obviously bad energy in excess can lead to toxic energy, and that's where big problems start. So to prevent that, yes, we want to try, in my mind, like new things, especially for children's like dopamine. We have dopamine too, but you mean when we have talking of a young brain, 11, 12, 13, it's like instant gratification, dopamine. So, man, if we can, that's why I say it's a beautiful point what you say, trying that different roads, because if we can open that those floodgates up, if you will, and show the child a whole new set of things. The dopamine brain's going off, right? And it's just like it presents a whole new category of things to talk about and connecting emotionally.
That's right. Yeah, really does.
It's a beautiful thing. I want to share something with you, if I may, before we
Sure.
dive into the topics of discussion. Once we get through the intro. But I wish to share. Although I don't have multiple children myself, I relate again. And do you remember? Let me take you back when I said I relate to you in multiple ways. If you
Sure.
remember, this
Yes.
is another way, in a different way, as to how I relate with you. Stick with me. So I was given away. I had I was given away by my parents. My mother had problems mentally, and as you and I both know, it wasn't understood back then, mental health. It
Mhm.
is now, and then I don't want to sound disrespectful. Everybody's got a mental health problem these days, but and that's not to say that people haven't been affected by the state of the world's affairs. They most certainly have. COVID, cost of living, and especially young people. Um, I always say that children, you know, say 1 to, I don't know, 8, 9, don't really know any different. And like it's adults, like say and I don't class 18 as an adult because I class in my mind 24 as an adult,
Mhm.
halfway through to 30, because then you're more mature. But that's just me. But when you're like on that side of the spectrum, you adapt. But children that are like the young age range demographic, say like I want to say 9, 10 to like say 22 or 3. They're suffering the worst, man, with
Mhm.
what's going on. So I don't want to come across like the wrong way, as in like everybody's got a mental health problem in a disparaging way. But
Yeah.
what I meant, or what I should have said was that like the world's events I think have made people obviously this way with stress and anxiety, but when you're born with a condition, like my mum was born with a condition, um, Asperger's, and it was formerly known as Asperger's, now it's autism and ADHD. And that in turn was inherited to me, and I've got ADHD and autism.
Okay.
But
Wow.
it's genetics many times, right? But my point is, and maybe this is why I come across in a weird way, because yeah, like sometimes some people might say it's which I can see. Some people might say that's insensitive when you say everyone's got a mental health problem, and to a certain degree that might be true. But and I'll be real and honest with you, there is like a um kind of grudge in me because I tell you why. Because when it wasn't understood, no one cared because no one understood it. And when you're born with a condition, like my mother was, and then how I was and am, nobody cared. I wish I was like these young kids now that when there was all this plethora of support. So, admittedly, I am a bit begrudging, but at the
Sure.
same time, people have been affected by the state of the world affairs, of course, with anxiety and stress, right? But
Mhm.
um, I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, without going on and on and on, is that because my mum had these these issues, and it wasn't understood, she couldn't handle me. She couldn't because
Mm.
being 34 now, and I myself, I've invested in the top speakers of heavy educational influence and affluence in order for me to get better, to evolve, to reinvent myself, to save myself from myself. So I used to be very fast talking like this, and very fast and very quick, and this and this, and that wasn't getting me anywhere in life. I had
Mm.
to learn the importance of speaking slowly, soft, pause. Pauses are important. Gestures, facials. I've learned from the very best teachers. I invest a lot of money in myself. But why did I tell you that? Or so not tell you that sounds true. Why did I mention that to you? Because the reason for this, when I was younger and had all this testosterone and all this crazy wild energy, being with ADHD, my mom
Mhm.
couldn't handle me because she had her own problems. And my father didn't want to know. He wanted to know me in teenage years, as a baby, or so. And he paid. He was very good with money, but he didn't want to and support it. Luckily, thankfully, for my mum and myself. But he didn't want to know emotionally until I was a teenager. So, and this is a long-winded answer, and I apologize. But now getting to the point
Okay.
with my son, God bless you. I, I, obviously I don't have multiple children, but the fact that I was given away in care and I had no upbringing, I had to really do a lot of work on how am I going to be with my child and think things through,
Mm.
strategize. Now, the love was always there because I know what pain feels like. I've gone through many painful things resulting from being given away in children's homes and foster places alike. Yeah, now there's protection. Back in the day, if you go back to the 90s, mid 90s, it wasn't so much, the authorities wouldn't be, does it, it would be a lot more relaxed
Yeah.
with strict of the rules, meaning families, unfortunately for me, I've lived in some very abusive homes. And um, so my point is, 'cause I've gone through so many things in my life. I don't want to go into details because it's negative, but many, and not just negative. There's been positive experiences too, but I had to transmute all of my pain and think to myself, I've gone through all this pain in my life. I had to fight to survive, learn to fight to survive after being attacked in homes, blah blah blah. But I've gone through all this pain. I don't want my son to feel this pain. I want him to feel love. So
Mhm.
that was my why. I wanted to transmute all of my pain. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, yes.
But the challenges in order to get to that point, after not being taught by my mother and father, was very challenging. I had to like learn how to be a like how to develop my inner child, how to really connect. And I've done well, judging by the videos I have of myself and myself. So emotionally connected, psychologically, spiritually. I mean, emotionally, we're really connected really well. And that's a lot of work I've done on myself, but also not just me, it's him as well. Teamwork makes the dream work, and it's him bouncing off my positive energy and and then next thing you know, they're carrying you through how you're parenting because they're feeding off your energy in a positive way, and then next thing you know, they're leading you, right?
That's right.
And
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Christopher.
no, thank you, appreciate
That
it.
is quite a story, and it reminds me of my father. Actually, very similar to that. He had his mother growing up, but she had him at age 14.
Right.
Uh, so it was the two of them, and in and out of abusive homes, and it just so what I saw him do, and my siblings and I laugh because my dad became very technical with it. So he read every book there was on fatherhood and parenting, and so it was just very rigid. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll spend family time, and this was our 1 hour. Uh, but I think seeing that in him, and he had a genuine love for us. It was just hard for him to learn how to express that sometimes.
Hmm.
But we felt it. It's that energy that you're talking about that we put off to our kids. We felt it, and my dad's just an endearing guy with all of his quirks, but
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, for sure.
love that. And later in life, the last decade or so, I've seen what and of course I didn't experience it, but what he had to overcome to
Hmm.
be that loving, caring father that had, for the most part, emotional control of himself and of our family situation. It's a lot for him to overcome. I mean, I struggle even now, having grown up in his stable environment with five boys.
Yeah,
Sometimes I want to lose my mind, but we always have to recenter.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Tell me if you agree or disagree with this following statement. I like this guy you mentioned, um, I myself have read books, but I I would use it as a merely as a guide only and not as gospel. I wouldn't yeah, it's like, how do I, so let me just pretend to read off here.
Sure.
Let's say this is the book. I'm reading line for line for line for line. This is gospel. This is gospel. This is gospel. Line for line. It's got to be done this way. I'm like, no, no. Does that make sense? Like, it's like AI.
Absolutely.
You know, many people that if you don't have a program for your brain, then your mind's going to be programmed, right?
Mhm.
And
That's right.
AI is doing that to many people. They're
Yes.
relying far too much on AI. Just a side note example, and it's getting to the point where how do you separate yourself from everybody else that's doing the exact same thing that you are?
Yes.
You have to and this is what works well for me. You know what I do? I use 80% my brain, 20% AI guides. That's what I do.
Oh,
And because thought prowess and authenticity, right? Yeah.
yes.
Linking it in the AI hypothesis example I'm putting forth, um, it works out very well because it's actual human mind versus everyone 80%, 90%, maybe even more at times, AI, machine do it for you. Then you're just a carbon copy because
That's right.
yeah, AI might be doing things in different ways or saying things, but it's the same meaning in a
Yeah.
different
So just
way.
recycled information.
It's
Yes.
recycled, it's just
Yeah.
presented differently, right?
That's right.
And you know this as well. Like it's presented differently with wording, but the meaning's still the exact same. But so and on top of that, it makes the mind lazy. People become scally, lazy, and like, no, man. No. And so by the same token, like that's an AI example. But going back to parenting, I would merely use it as a guide only because and I think you'll like this one by talking to you so far.
Mhm.
I found that books they were too serious. They were too like ultra real and strict, and it's got to be done this way. And I as in the person putting it forth. I'm the doctor and I'm the psychologist, and I know what to write about. But and that might be true to a certain degree on the
Right.
surface. But if you scratch at the surface, where's the authenticity with the inner child playfulness? Example, example, and I've never seen this in any books. This was me with my son, and I wouldn't care even if I was in a restaurant with my son. I wouldn't care if he wants to play, and Dad will be silly. I'll be silly with like making noises or playing with him and being a child myself. And I don't care if people give me days. I don't care because I've got a video, so many of them, not video new, but golden moments on my device from that will stay there forever from
Yeah.
restaurant encounters, as an example, being out for a meal with my boy. And the playfulness, the love, the enjoyment. Yeah, we're not supposed to be that way, right? But then it's about what is that costing you when you try to be like everybody else? I would much rather someone give me an evil, dirty look and have a lovely golden moment with my boy rather than care about the opinions of stupid opinions of strangers who I'll never see again in my life.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
yeah. I 100% agree with you, both on the AI and also on perception.
Yeah.
We get a lot of looks with parading three little brown boys around, and
Yeah.
and they look like triplets almost, even, so that even causes more of a stir. And people look at me and look at the boys and not understand what's going on. It's I almost enjoy it. Just, hey, let me break some of your just your thinking in your box here. Let's break
Right.
the mold a little bit, and it's led to some great discussions. And
Yeah. Oh, it really does. When
yeah,
when you when you break out of the status quo, because that's where the boringness is, that's where the mundane is. And people, you don't need me to tell you this, I know you know this already, people fear what they can't
mhm,
understand. So
that's
when
right.
you're joyful and authentic and sincere and just engaged, right, and playful, spirit irritates many parents' demons. Many
Mm,
parents know they should be doing this, but it creates a lot of friction to people that actually are doing it because parents are projecting what they should be doing and they know that. But they don't have the guts to do it or they just can't do it based on what
mm,
they've been through. So they project their insecurities and their evil, dirty looks and their gossip, saying this person's weird, he's being playful, and he's not doing things normal by the status quo. Now, going the other way, that's not to say you shouldn't be respectful where need be. I can see that. So it's a balance, but at the same time, why do we have to be ultra serious all the time, right?
yeah. Now that's a. I'm glad you said respectful, because that's something actually just in the last couple of weeks where I've used AI to help me. We do our bedtime routine, and we say our prayers, and we have and I do a story with the boys, and I've had AI help me kind of, what are some things we need to be teaching here, and 9 times out of 10 I'm saying no, that's garbage. But occasionally there's some good tips it brings up, and we're doing a series now on respect and disrespect. And it really struck me that a lot of what happens here, boys, let them play, let our kids play and have fun
Yeah,
and experience life, these micro adventures.
yeah.
Even in stores, they'd hide behind the clothing rack and jump out at each other. And so we got to have these conversations about, it's not about not having fun. It's about respecting other people, showing that you value them. Sometimes we do need to back off of what we're doing because we might almost trip someone or we might be disturbing their conversation. So let's be considerate of other people, but let's not stop being creative and having fun because of it.
Oh, absolutely. It's that line of for lack of a better word, integration. It's integration of having respect for other people whilst at the same time not losing sight of who you are, especially as a child, right? And
That's,
especially with us as parents wanting to forge a deeper bond with our child slash children.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
it's good. So yeah, thank you for the get to know. I know it was a long get to know, and I'm aware we've been here for 34 minutes already. So, with all this said, are you okay to dive into the topics?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
before we go any further, I just want to say very quick. You say you do prayers. I'm a Christian myself, by the way. Are you a Christian?
Yes. Very good.
Right.
Yes.
Nice. Cool,
Yeah.
man. I'm a Christian. I just want to share with you. God saved my life. I never like God teaches free will, so I've never forced my beliefs on anybody else. I don't think people should do that, but I can say to you with confidence how exponentially God's transformed my life.
Mhm.
Um, it's thanks to Him I'm over 2 years sober now from alcohol,
Wow.
to become a better
Good for
father.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And opportunities are opening up now, and I pray to God because I want to help out my church where I live, because as everywhere, you know, things have been at risk of closing down, even churches, because of funds. And I've been asking God, I say, I love the people here in the community here. Help me to become successful so I can donate to my church. Slowly, God is making me become successful, and I've been donating to my church. So it's a beautiful thing.
That is great. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that because
Yeah.
he
Thank you.
does. It's powerful, God, isn't it? It's really,
It is. It changes everything. It
it
really
does.
does.
He does for
Yeah.
sure. No, I just wanted to share. Okay, so out of these three topics, my friends, what shall we discuss first? Would you like to discuss emotional control first, the dangers of excessive technology first, or emotional immersion first?
Let's start with emotional control. I need to
Emotional
have a good
control, right?
conversation on that.
For sure. Um, so emotional control, it
Yeah.
is, and it's actually. May I ask? I know the UK is different. I'm in the UK. Um, is it summer holidays in the US, or is it just finished summer holidays?
We just finished. We're a
Okay,
week
we
or
have
so
a
in
UK
school.
too. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I, I thought you were different because Mother's Day's different and different dates, right?
Oh, yes.
But you're the same. Okay, so why did I say that? Because emotional control. I mean, look at summer holiday period, right? So many parents, um, and this will lead us in beautifully into the technological segue after this.
Yeah.
But so we'll save that for there. But many parents, they have been having meltdowns. Some more than others. We've all found it perhaps stressful, but some are able to deal with it far better than others. But the parents that haven't done the inner work in order to parent better when you're around a child for, well, prolonged excessively every single day for quite a good few weeks. When you haven't done that work, when you rely, bold prediction, or statement, sorry, not prediction, bold statement on my end, I feel that parents, they rely far too much on schools for respites without doing the inner work themselves. Now, the reason why I say this, if only parents did do the inner work whilst the child was at school, how much more easier, not easy, but easier would it be for parents to have emotional control whilst they're on the summer holiday break period, if that makes sense.
Yes. Absolutely.
So I guess with emotional control, let's start with this and have a dialogue here relating to the longevity and the length of time that parent and child/children have to be together, and what that means for us as parents with not only emotional control but having to think outside the box and be resourceful, like resourceful with entertainment and money. A lot of parents that are struggling with money, so how do we do things for free of entertainment and balance that with a paid activity as an example, and how do we link that with emotional control, all these things, right? So let me ask you, with all this said, What's what do you feel? Because I've given plenty of my own thoughts, but what do you feel being emotional control yourself, Jeremy, is, um, or why parents, so many of them, have meltdowns over summer holiday and they have emotional control issues?
Yes. I understand it for sure. I think there's this expectation as a parent that, like you said, we've got to come up with these ideas. We have to constantly entertain, and more kids. We actually had a couple of conversations this summer about boredom is a good thing and healthy for your mind. Let's take a bored moment, and
Yeah,
everybody just we're shutting off everything on this drive. We're not, we can talk, we can look out the windows. Um, so I think part of it is that expectation of the parent that I have to entertain all the time. I have to make sure they have all their needs met.
yeah,
When really our job is not to meet every need, but teach them how to meet their own needs.
yeah,
Uh, so my younger boys were really this summer learning how to prepare their own lunches and you know, serve themselves independently a little more and not depend on us so much. But I think with that expectation and kids constantly nagging, we need something to do. What are we doing next? And it's easy to let that boil up. And well, I don't have any ideas. I don't have any more to give to you. And we become disappointed in ourselves. Then we can lash out at our kids even
Yeah.
just in those moments of nagging and and wanting the next thing. So we have to, I think, we have to kind of reflect inwardly and become creative
Yes.
and resourceful, one, so that we do have different things to do with our kids. But I think those things are not about entertainment, it's about teaching. What can we do together so that you learn something else in life? Maybe it's emotional control yourself, maybe it's physical, maybe it's a spiritual thing. What can we do together that brings you to the next level?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like, I think this is the with entitlement with children. If we do, with titled children, so I'm sorry, if we do everything for them, and the world's got plenty of these and enough of that, I knew I would never raise my son to be entitled, and I did a good job there. And I also knew that because, like, your job as a parent is to raise your child to be socially acceptable by the age of 4. Because if we do not, they're going to experience nothing but false smiles from other parents and rejection from the other children. And that's our job. So I knew back then, my boy's 7 now, and just double down on your point. Because I think what the child will remember, because like, the thing is, it's slippery slope. Because yes, we get annoyed, as you point out, rightfully and fairly, with the nagging, nag, 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 and
Yeah,
it does irritate us because obviously, remember now, the children aren't adults, so they're just worried about what's on TV, and what we're adults, we have to worry about the money coming in and work and this and that and everyday chores in real life, right? Which
that's right.
takes so much energy. So when a child's nagging us on top of that, but bless the child, they don't know any better, they don't know any different, they're too young. So what do we do about that? Well, how I did it was because, in my opinion, a child will remember you from your efforts. I do firmly believe that. Now,
Yeah,
if we teach them to be entitled, then them remembering your effort will be diminished and devalued massively. So that's why I'm very against raising entitled children. However, if we don't raise entitled children and we raise them with meaning and morals and values and like earning, you have to earn things. You can't just everything given for you. We'll guide you. I'll guide you and I love you as your parent, right? To a child, but I'll never do everything for him. And it's the results have been quite amazing, actually. My boy at 7, he's so independent now because I've always guided him, but I said, "No, you do it yourself, son. I'm going to be with you. I'm watching you, but feel it, feel what you're doing." Say like if he's putting a toy together, feel it, feel the motion. Don't just ask Della to do it all the time. I had to train him, so like train him with the motions, but with where you're going to twist this, and it goes like this, and then you unclench your fingers like this. Just all the motion necessary. Does that make sense? So they get the
yeah,
feeling down in their body. And they wouldn't get that if they were just being given everything to them, right? You
that's
know,
right.
you know what I'm saying? So, but also it's like I think so yeah, going back to effort, I think like I've been very lucky. And I think considering I told you I was my background in the care system and all these things.
Hmm.
And I think overall, not perfect by any means. I'm perfectly imperfect, but I think I've done all right considering where I came from. But my child has always remembered his father's efforts, and I can say to you with confidence that because I make my son feel emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually, he respects me. And I don't do things for him. And sometimes he doesn't like me. But I say, it's for the greater good, son. Look. And then when he gets it 3 days, 4 days later, and he's, Dad, I could do this by myself now. Like, See, son, do you remember when you hated dad? And I said, goes to me, I hate you, dad. Well, do you remember now? Now you love me, right? Yes, dad, I love you now. So, and by the same token, it's the same as summer holidays, right? If
Yes.
we, provided we do, not just in my case, but in with the aforementioned point put forward, but every parent perhaps can do a similar thing as well. But my point is, with the summer holiday period, that will all these things will increase the probability, the chances of um, the child negotiating with you, as in, um, so say like if we don't have enough money on summer holiday, say there's 3 days, and we can do one big outing which is going to cost a lot of money, say like £30 for, in your case in the US, $30, $40, $50,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, So, and out of these 3 days, you got one paid activity every 3 days. So, for as an example, these next 2 days, we need to negotiate. How are we going to stimulate this? How I'll be talking to my son. How are we going to be stimulating your brain? What can we do for free? Should we go out for a nice walk and listen to music and sing songs? Should we immerse ourselves in nature, which we've done plenty of? And it's
Yeah.
amazing just how beautiful and connected we are in nature, because subconsciously you're looking at green everywhere. Your subconscious by default goes into a relaxed peak state, right?
Yes.
So do you know what I mean? So like just to bond and inner child bonding and having that nature to do such, and bond at a much grander and enricher level, if that makes sense. So and that doesn't require money. It might require a juice, like I'll go with that. I'll take water, but for my boy, okay,
Right.
get you some juice from the shop. That's like £3, whatever.
Right.
Rip off, because when it comes to children, they rip you off, of course, the parents.
That's right.
But of course. But
Right.
other than the £3 for juice, that was free, and then the big one, you know what I'm saying. So the child, because I would, he will be a lot more open to negotiating with me based on effort, is what I'm trying to say. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right there. It makes a big difference. Them feeling the confidence of accomplishing those tasks too. A lot of the paid activities we do are simply entertainment. Now, some of them have, we've taken our kids to the ninja courses or
yeah,
different activities, there are things to accomplish there. But we found a lot of our free time activities together as a family. We would hike to a local cave or a lot of outdoors things. This summer, I found my boys we love bonfires and being outside. We have a nice big backyard. And I said, "Have you boys ever lit a fire without a match?" Well, my 10-year-old really became fascinated with this and was just so frustrated he could not do it at the start. And after several minutes of trying and trying, and his brother's finally getting it, uh,
yeah.
he got it. And boy, for the next week, he was walking around trying to light fires everywhere. And whoa, buddy, this is not appropriate time or place. But he is so proud now that we took a little trip to the lake, and he said, "Dad, can I build the fire?" And here's my 10-year-old does it all by himself and just has that confidence in him and
Mm,
appreciates it. Uh, and
yes,
I like
confident.
what you said earlier. A lot of times kids won't appreciate it. It starts out as, "Well, I hate you, Dad," uh,
Yeah, yeah,
to "I love you for this."
yes.
I do for work. I do property management and always working on another house. My 15-year-old, I've always tried to bring my boys with me, and I let them entertain themselves and involve them in projects when it's appropriate. But my 15-year-old, he comes along and rolls his eyes every time. But
Yeah.
recently this summer, I truly needed his help replacing a hot water heater in a home at 11 at night. And we get it all hooked up, and he's jumping in asking me a bunch of questions, which is unusual. He's like, "What do you need?" and moves on is the typical response. But so I showed him every step of the way and had him hold things and had him feel how tight to make things.
Mhm.
And at the end of that project, he said, "Wow, so when I own my house one day, I could do this myself." I'll save myself like $1,000, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's this realization that comes in, and that's the moment that we're, at least for me, that I'm willing to endure all of the eye rolls and the huffing and the
Yeah.
I don't want to, Dad, because they're going to have that moment of realization, just like I did with all my dad did for me.
That's teenagehood 101, isn't it? The eye rolls and
That's
sighing and
right.
sarcasm.
Yes,
That's a major one, right?
that's
No,
right.
for sure. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing when we can teach um, our our kids, right, on things. I think as well, it's like important to because have you heard that saying, a jack of all trades, a master of none?
Yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you. There's certain things that I can't do. A lot of that is because of my sheltered life. I've only been in the real world 8 years. However, I've now got my three-bedroom home. It's very small and cramped because where the area is, it's one of those houses where everything, although it's three-bedroom, it's like a cottage. It's more like very cramped and like two
Yeah.
people, you know what I mean? It'd be manageable, but three, it's kind of
Yeah.
like that. However, however, I'm still very proud to have bought that out cash outright.
Mhm.
I worked my tail off because I'm good at talking, and I was a partnership for a company called Easy Apps, Easy Sites. Stick with me, I'm going somewhere. So, long story short, I can't. I as you know before our conversation, I'm not good at technology at all,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I was able to sell technology due
Okay.
to my speaking capabilities. I'm very good at talking and speaking. And I was very good at selling, although I didn't like selling. I wanted to sell in the way of giving value. And for me, technological stuff, it was value to a certain degree, but I wasn't happy. But I did that so that I could get my home and purchase it cash outright. And, after private renting, after leaving the care system, I had to throw myself in the deep end, like construction first ever job. No mercy. I had to like learn quick about real life.
Well,
And I went way at the private rented property ladder, and then sacrificed. And I sacrificed what I did, doing what I did for 2.5 years, but I managed to make a lot of money by selling good products from the technical side, from the partnership, you know. And as I say, got this cash outright brought. I don't have to worry about mortgage. I've done more than my fair share of raising my son emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And I've got my own business now where I'm doing podcasts. I've also got a YouTube channel, and I'm doing well there. And it's thanks to God, and it's thanks to my um my refusal to accept what life the cards that life dealt me. Does that make sense? But
yes.
so I always wanted to be better. However, going back, and thank you for sticking with me there and your patience. But going back to the um, analogy I put forth about what I say, master of all, jack of all trades, master of none. There's certain thing I realize I can't do, and a lot of that is my background. I only been in real 8 years, so I can't do DIY. Terrible at that, and I
Sure.
and I can't do technology. I'm terrible at that. You know, I'm very good at other things, and I chose to rather than most people they worry about everything that they're not good at. I refuse to waste energy at what I'm not good at. I'd rather focus that energy on what I'm good at so I can excel at that. Does that
Yes.
make sense? So
Yes.
I accept it. DIY is just something I can't do, and if even if I did do it, it will take me so long to do for time and energy. I'll pay
Yeah.
someone to do it. But at the same time, so I could never teach my son that. However, at
Yeah.
the same time,
Sure.
it is beautiful to teach. In your case, you managed to do that. And like you said, he said he would have saved £1,000, right? And
Yes.
this is true. It's a very important skill to learn DIY. You can save so much money for yourself.
Mhm.
Really. Um, However, I can't unfortunately that's my child. I can teach him how to
Well,
tell us. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. I'm saying you're right. I think but you have skills you can teach, and I think each of us do, and we should be teaching those skills to our
Yeah.
kids. This
What
is
we
how I
excel.
found my path to success and making
Yeah.
it in adulthood. So I think
Yeah.
that's the big question, right? Even in adulthood, we're still trying to figure out is, will I make it?
Yeah.
Is tomorrow secure?
We'll
And
make it to the end.
yeah.
You
And if we
know.
can show our kids, these are the things that I have learned and the skills that I have obtained to help me make it. It gives them that sense of confidence. Well, I can at least do what my father did, and then we find oftentimes, I think, that they exceed beyond what we can do. In
Yes.
fact, I love that you said selling there. I've learned recently. I thought I was good at selling, but I am not apparently, as I've tried recently. But as we teach in our entrepreneur classes and our adulting 101 classes, here are
Nice.
the top 10 skills that you need to have in life for success.
Yes.
And it's not about, be smart or whatever, but one of those skills is learn to sell. If you
Yes.
can sell, that's part of your whole life.
See, this is it, and like, and there's different kinds of selling. There's like,
Mhm.
because I don't like the selling where people deceive others online and say, doors closing, last chance to get seats. We all know that's BS in most cases, right?
Right.
I like selling in terms of pumping value and giving to other people.
Mhm.
And my YouTube channel, I give things for free. If you want the honest truth, I document my son's and his father's comeback story. After I mentioned going through the family courts, and my unique selling point is anybody can go online and talk and go yap 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 and flap their yaps. But
Mhm.
where's their authority? Where's their credibility? Well, I'll tell you mine. Mine is all the voice recordings in which I have from authority member meetings that exposes the tyrannical behaviors and the corruption. And I use that for my YouTube channel to help other parents insulate and protect themselves. So I sell, but I sell by serving and by the watch time people that watch me, I get money from the watch time. So I don't have to sell deceptively or manipulating. I don't like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's good. It's really good.
good.
Um, thank you. I appreciate that. So like, but to your point, like we have to figure out what we're good at, what we're not so great at, and what we excel at, right? And one thing I could pass on to my child is telling a story, and telling a story of authenticity, purity, and truth. And I can pass on that very and the feelings, the emotions. I'm good at that, and that probably is because I'm autistic and ADHD. And
Mhm.
autistic
Yeah.
people, they're very feeling, they're very emotional. And did you realize, fun fact, a lot of people, individuals in music, they have autism. And
Mhm.
they're so with a laser like precision, they're able to so articulately move their body so well with dancing and their facials they've mastered. Because they're autistic, they feel emotions far
Wow.
more than the norm. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. I've never thought about that. Wow.
Yeah. Makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. Yes.
Moving on, because we've already been up here 58 minutes, and I could talk to you for ages. Let's speed through some other things of emotional control. So we've touched on the summer holidays. What about when the child is like really having a tantrum, screaming, throwing things, destroying your property, throwing things out of frustration? How do we navigate through that in your estimation?
Those are the hard moments, aren't they? Because that's they learn the buttons to push. What things do you care about most in life, or in your home? That's what they're going to go for.
Yes,
It seems, and
unfortunately.
yes, and I think I think as they're younger, it's easy to divert their attention, and
Mm, mm,
let's give them something else to do or think on
right.
or even destroy. Hey, we don't touch those things. Here's something you can tear this piece of paper into the tiniest bits, or
Yes.
smash this little box up, whatever it might be. Uh, which I have found some of the best toys are just cardboard boxes.
Mhm. Oh, they are for sure.
Crawl inside. But uh, I think as they're younger, that's a good approach. It's just that diverting the attention, but especially now as they get older, talking to them about the longer term consequence. If all we do is scream in the corner about what we want and we're not getting, it
Hmm.
doesn't accomplish anything. If we go destroy property, we can't just replace that. It takes money, it takes resources, it takes time, and talk about the consequences with them. And I think the challenge there is for me to step back, calm myself, and have a civil conversation about it where I'm in control of my own emotion in the moment. Um,
And
it,
to add to your point as well, um, sentimental, right? Just to
yeah,
add to what you said, because it's one thing with the money and the cost, that's one thing. It's quite another matter where it's sentimental and somebody's gifted you something, right?
that's right.
Um, and it could be so precious to you, and a child might even know that and weaponize that and destroy that to hurt you for not getting their own way. For me, I don't care about the money, but it's the sentimental. If somebody, especially if somebody's passed on and it was a gift, as an example, that can really hurt. So just double down on what you say. And I'm sure you'll agree. I would add sentimental meaning because that's what hurts the most. And in turn, that can be one of the hardest ways to keep control
That's right.
emotionally, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
We had a toy box. It
yeah.
was actually a box my mother built, and then we painted it. And our boys, well, each time as I was fostering in the foster care system, we had 9 children through our home, and each one would put their handprint, and we'd write their name on it. And somehow, now our 3 adopted that have stayed with us, somehow, I don't know how, their room's a mess, but they wanted to clean this
Hmm.
box and
Yes.
erased every print from that box, including their own.
Oh,
And that was a moment when I just wanted to lose it.
yeah.
It's a box that's special to me to begin with, and then more special from the experiences and the memories there. And it is. It's very, very difficult, and they could certainly sense my disappointment
Mm.
in it. But thankfully, I got myself under control on the anger, and that there I had to say a prayer. God help me now. you know, it had to be a spiritual thing because this is a strong teaching moment, not just a loss for me. And I think that's important for us to realize, for me to realize. It's not about the loss. It's about what can we learn out of this? Because that's just
Yeah.
stuff. I can't take it with me anyway. But what
Yes.
can we learn about this? My dad had a saying that always drove us nuts, but it was things are to be used, people are to be loved. And that, my brother and I still laugh at that, but it's
It's
true.
very true though, that you actually reminds me of a something I saw on Facebook. It was a Buddhist picture, a picture of a Buddhist in prayer, and he had his head bowed, that Buddhist style. But he said, if I remember it correctly, and you reminded me of this, the problem is, and I quote, the problem is today, um, sorry, back in the day, um, things were used and people I forgot something else, but then it said these days people are used and things are, and I forgot what the thing said, but
Huh.
people are used, and it's so true because as time's gone on, compared if we compare it to the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, people have become, especially now with COVID and our cost of living,
Mhm.
very self-serving and selfish many times. There are good people out there. They're very few and far between. I've had to learn the hard way about oversharing too much because I overshare a lot, and I think it's to do with ADHD. We do overshare much, but I had to learn the hard way about this, and I was manipulated by people by oversharing and having a good nature. So you have to learn to like have boundaries, right? As
That's
well.
right.
Otherwise, you'll learn to be exploited. But one thing I want to add to your point as well is that, like, and what you said was beautiful because you know, like we're all going to the same place, like as in we're going to be passed on one day, and we can't take these things with us. This is so true. But what we can do, is, as well as you very correctly point out, like learn from it. We can also pass down, generationally, teachings for the people caring for teenagers and younger kids, like in your case, say 7 or 8, isn't it? So they learn, and generationally, it's a lifelong skill that's invaluable, man. You know,
It
right?
is. It is. Matter of fact, when my oldest, this was special to me. My oldest, 17 now. He was probably 7 years old. He's since he was. I have a video of him at 4 years old fishing and catching his first fish, and he's just been a fisherman ever since.
Yeah.
It's just in him. And so when he was about 7, I had this wallet custom engraved for him with his name, and it said "Keep fishing, Emmett." And just that was my challenge to him. No matter what life throws at you, we just keep fishing. And that's what I was teaching
Yeah.
him. And he pulled that out just the other day, and he said, "Dad, I want you to know I only use this a couple times a year because I want it to last." He
Hmm.
said, "I love those words, and I'm making that my
Yes.
life theme." But it just wow, that hit me.
That
Like,
is
this is what
powerful,
you're
dude.
instilling in them. Just
That
keep
just
going.
hit me. How you
Yeah,
said it, that hit me. Like I felt that, man. That's powerful. That's powerful beyond measure. That's really powerful. Because it's like it's the meaning of like of insights, of
yeah,
oomph. Like it's such a electrical charge, positively, boom, going into your
yeah.
spirit. In my opinion, excuse my ding, Facebook.
It's all
Uh,
right.
sorry about that. In my opinion, it's because of the magnified insights. So, and the insights behind the oomph in the moments, So it's beautiful. It's
That's
so
right.
beautiful. So, yeah, for the sorry, not sake of time, excuse me. For the sake of time, with what shall we talk of next? And I could talk to you all night, but obviously we can't
Yeah,
do that.
this was
But
great.
I feel very connected to you, man. Honestly, what
Yeah.
would you like to speak of next? The dangers of excessive technology,
Mhm.
or emotional immersion?
Let's talk excessive technology. I think that's I don't know, very, very real day to day, for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. And I'm actually glad you said that, because let me take you back. Do you remember when I said this will tie in beautifully when we talk about
Yes,
the
that's
technology
right. Yeah,
and parents relying far too much? I'm not taking a picture, but like on this, dumping it
yeah.
in front of the child's face whilst they're at school instead of doing the work when the child is at school. And then when
Mhm.
summer holidays come, they won't be having so many meltdowns. It won't be easy, but easier. But so anyway, what is your opinions and thoughts and feelings on excessive technology? How do you feel, Jeremy, about this?
Yeah. I feel working with my boys and then working with lots of students their age, in our entrepreneurship.
Mm,
It's obviously technology is an incredible tool, makes
yeah,
our
of
lives easier in so many ways. I mean, we get to do this. Uh,
course.
just so many positives. I want them to know and learn, to understand it, and even master it so they can utilize it in their lives.
Hmm.
But I think the danger, and I even see this in my boys, this is the tendency,
Hmm.
is that they do immerse themselves in it, and it becomes their life.
Yes.
They're not connected. My younger boys, for example, when they're allowed their screen time, they love shorts, the YouTube shorts or whatever it is. And I
Yes.
come into the room after a few minutes, like, boys, put something with a plot on. we've lost the ability to share a full story because it's all about
Yeah.
the short. And um, I think that's a bit of the challenge. We want that instant gratification within seconds, not minutes, even, and God forbid, hours. We'd sit through something. Uh, it, these are the dangers that we're instilling in our kids, and so more and more, they're not going to have the patience to make it through things, and frankly, the concentration it
Hmm.
takes to do deeper, more meaningful things. And that goes into tasks of creativity. I don't know too many kids that can sit down and paint a masterpiece because we get impatient. I don't know if I have the patience for it, frankly, to
Yeah.
do the intricacies. So
Yes.
we're losing some of that. And then relationships are the same way. Give me the
Yeah.
highlights and let's move on. That's how our conversations with important people tend to go in our lives. Instead of, tell me about your day. Let's talk. How are you
Yeah.
feeling? Let's dive deeper. So those are some of the things I see and the concerns I see even in my own boys.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like, I think technology in itself, as I said at the start of our meeting, is not a bad thing. It's actually a beautiful thing. You
Mhm.
know, as long as we're in control of it, we can't be doing this right now. Obviously, without technology, we can't be. We'd have to go back to the old way of having a rubbish, horrible boss. I would have to do that without technology, as we all would, right?
Yes.
So now that in it is a beautiful thing, and there are many positives if used correctly. What I've learned much about myself with technology is, and before I use myself as an example, let me just double down on your point about shorts, YouTube shorts, because I remember when it was 3 minutes, then they transitioned the 3 minute short into a minute short. The next thing you know, it's going to be 30 seconds because of their further fell in attention span. The next thing you know, it'll probably be 10 seconds,
Yeah.
and that's most likely to come within the next 2 years, easily, I think.
Yes.
Easily, if not before, maybe even a year.
Mhm.
Um, is it making us lazier in that sense? Absolutely. Do we have instant gratification and live in that world of distraction if we're not in control of our mind? Absolutely. And I think that for many younger people, they are living in that world of distraction
Mhm.
because, and it's not their fault. Majority speaking, it's not. If you're a teenager, A, you're growing up in it, B, you're being bombarded with, as soon as you open your phone, the notifications with so many hits from so many different platforms. Um, so is it their fault necessarily? No. Their mind subconsciously is being programmed by all of the dumping from the devices, and that's what they do.
Mhm.
And there's a sad truth to face, my friends, and a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Children are weaponized for money when it comes to games,
They
the
are.
flashing lights, the fast distraction, the instant gratification, and say if it's a fighting game and you've got all these different characters, magical game or whatever, it's all flashy, a quick succession, like
Right.
different range of attacks, magic, sorcerer attack, or it could be a sword or fantasy game. Just so look, bright lighting, multiple like bright lighting shapes, like excessively
Mhm.
bright to distract, right? And to really entrap the child into like that they can't live without it. The sort of light, the distraction, the constant button bashing, and you're constantly button bashing because you're wanting to get. It's giving you that incentive as a child because you want to get to the new character, um,
Yes.
and the different fight style. So all these things negatively stack the bright lights, the button
Mhm.
bashing, so you get to that new character, and then the story mode, and if it's compelling, and then quick, and then different alien. You get my point. And
Right. Yeah.
and, and it's like as an example, and look, going out with our children, like we talked about, relating to the costs. So I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. They are weaponized against us in many ways. They do use children.
Yes.
So it's up to us as parents to like help teach them and guide them, man. Because
It
if
is.
we don't like relating to YouTube, I used to be able to pull up long videos, and now even although there's interest and I'm still got a good following and watch time down, people are wanting so many more shorts rather than listening to, because my videos of audios, they're long, they're like 30 minutes, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So there's interest there because other people are going, and I'm showcasing how to win your child back to other parents being alienated, and I could teach them what to do and what not to do. But here's my point. Even my loyal fan base to say, can you do more shorts? Can you do more shorts? Because
Yeah, right.
we live in that instant gratification and less
Yes,
patience, right? So
right,
it
right.
makes you think. And
And I think it's this
yeah,
constant urgency in our life. We've got to get to the next thing. I don't have, an hour to give. I don't have 2 hours to give. The
yes.
next thing pulls me. There was a book by Mark Comer written recently called the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And
Hmm.
it was so powerful in my life. I'm still trying to master that. But he talks about this constant pull to the next thing and how we have to ruthlessly eliminate that and set a time for ourselves. And he talks about it as the Sabbath. Block a time for us and our family to make true connections. Lock the
Yes.
phones up. Find the time to say, I am not dependent on this. I don't need it to have a deep, meaningful life.
Hmm. When my son is here for dinner, no excuses at all. We will be he'll help me to cook because he's at the golden year stage where he's all loving and 7 and he wants to help me cook when he comes over.
Yeah,
Um because I'm winning him back slowly, you see. He's coming, we're co-parents, me and his nan, we're co-parenting. But
yeah,
when he's here, we he wants to help out. But then here's the cool part. I never allow phones while we're eating. I say to him, son,
very good.
you can have your phone, no problem when you're here, because you've been at school, right? And you can have phone 2 hours before beds. But dinner time, this is our time. All right.
Love
This
it.
is this is our time to connect. And you tell me your goals. He told me his goals on one conversation, what he wanted to do and what he's interested in at this moment based on influence from his school peers and how they influence each other. He told me stories about that, and then like, what we'll do is like day later, 2 days later, we'll double down on that and triple down on that and say, "How's that going, son? Are you moving in that direction? Good. And can Dada help you in any way to get to your goal here? What are your goals in this area? Can Dada contribute here?" And we'll talk like this and connect deeply like this, and he appreciates it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's something we miss as parents too. That in conversation with our kids, it's easy. It tends to be easy for me to shut down and not go deeper with my kids because I sense they're not interested.
Yeah.
When it, in fact, isn't true at all. They just maybe they haven't learned to express it. Maybe
Yes.
they're
Yes,
deeply
yes.
curious, or they just think it's not cool. But I think have those conversations, drill in, even if your kids are acting aloof. Let's talk about it. And I've just found so many times when I've pressed forward in conversation, like you were talking about, I get this sense that they've disengaged. But then a week, 2 weeks, a year later, I say, "You remember when we talked about X, Y, or Z? Well,
Mm.
I was really thinking about that." It's like, I
Yeah.
didn't know you were even listening. It's amazing what our kids are absorbing from us and
Oh, yes.
processing from us.
Oh, for sure. And another big lesson kids can teach us is a couple of them actually. One is because they're a lot more persistent than people give them credit for. They don't know how to. They know when to say something to mum or mummy, and when to speak to dad or daddy, and when to say this at what time, and be deliberate and intentional. They're very articulate like that. They can be like that, and a lot of parents overlook it, but they're actually just as smart, if not smarter, in a child way than parents are many times
Yes,
behind the ask,
that's
and
right.
being intentional. And another thing I'd love to share with you, I was actually getting some nice clothes for myself. Thought I'd treat myself because I'm very stingy. Like I'm a foodie. I love my foods, but
Okay.
when it comes to clothes, I keep the same ones for years, and it's got to the point where trousers are like breaking down and strings are falling off. I'm like, all right, let me get some new threads or new clothes, right? So, anyways, I get a massive load earlier on, quite a few. and it's beautiful. I hear, and I just because they teach you about the generations. So I'm in the changing rooms trying on my would-be new clothes, which I did end up buying and Pepsi. But as I'm trying the clothes on, next to me there's three schoolgirls. They're in the next changing room, and you're hearing how they're talking. They're like, "Bruh, bro," and they go, and here's another one. Yeah, you say it in the US, like even in the UK, they say it. It's cinema. It's
Yeah.
cinema.
Uh-huh.
It's
I've heard
cinema.
that a time or two.
Yeah, it's cinema. To me and you, cinema's like going to go to the movies, the actual cinema. But
Yeah,
for
right.
children, it's a different mentality, philosophy, right? It's like cinema.
Oh,
Just listening. My point is just like they teach you about the evolution of generations. You know,
yes.
it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Let's speak of, just in the interest of time, and I could talk to you all night, really, and I mean that. But in the interest of time, let's speak through one more technological example, then we'll finish with emotional immersion.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. I personally find that with with technology, I find that we don't know how, when we're out, to behave. I think this is a big one. I genuinely really do. Like I see around me, and I'm what like sometimes I'm like that as well, where you're had a bad day and you freeze up, and if you're sensitive to space, which I am, I don't like being in an enclosed space with so many people around me. Some people are cool with it. Some people it affects more than others. For me, it's harder, but I've trained my brain to be more receptive and tolerant to it. But that being said, so even I struggle. But what I'm saying is, I see so many people out in general, and they do struggle to talk and to carry a conversation. And like, so have you heard of Meetup?
Meetup.
Yes.
Uh, I don't know that I have. Well, maybe yes. Yes, I have. It's an
It's
app,
the
correct?
app. Yes, it's very
Uh-huh.
popular.
Yeah.
Right. And it stemmed from the United States. And I think the origins behind it was then when the Twin Towers in 2001, the terrorists, and I'm sorry
Yes.
to say this, but I think after that, the silver line is I think Meetup was created stemming from that. It's first starting in the US and then venturing its way across the pond to the UK after a while.
Yeah.
But so Meetup's great and it's fantastic. And I've met some wonderful people on there. But my point is, here's my point. When you go out to a meetup, you'll know that they can get very busy with people and filled up. So people aren't very good at conversation, but they don't need to be. They just talk to one person, then go to another person. But then they live in that world of distraction. And my main point is, here's my main point. I think that's stemming from technology. I think that a person can talk to person A can talk to person B for a little bit. Then somebody becomes awkward. Then you go on to the next person because I think people don't know how to have substance now. Most people want to meet how often have you heard, I want to meet new people? But how often do people stay in touch with the people that they've met and build long, like, relationships of meaning and substance? Mostly it's just wanting to meet new people because going back to technology, boom, 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 living in that world of endless distraction. I think it's training the minds, adults as well, to be that way. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is YouTube Shorts in real life, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Let me know this much of you. Okay, I'm moving on. It's
I tell you, I laughed so hard there. It was good that I wasn't drinking. I would have
oh
spat it out. I would have spat my juice out. I laughed so hard.
no.
That was funny. No,
Yeah,
really. That was good.
but
No, for
I think
sure.
it is a good example of how we short circuit deep, meaningful relationships with one another.
Yes.
I'm so grateful. I mean, the way I was raised, and I had good friends, but I grew up in a college town, so I didn't think friends lasted more than 4 years. and because they move here with their parents and then they're gone, you know.
Yeah.
But and my kids, unfortunately, it's even shorter almost. It feels like, oh, this friend moved away or that person's moving away. But
Hmm.
I think we just need to discipline ourselves. And I'm telling my boys this all the time, especially when it comes to selling or closing a deal when we're talking business.
Yes.
Embrace the silence. It's
Yes.
okay to have a moment of awkwardness and just think before you
Absolutely.
respond. Think and let the other person respond. And
Yeah.
that's so hard for us to do. We want to fill the silence, and I think it's an
Hmm.
insecurity. It's well, I don't trust what you're thinking of. I don't know what to do next. Maybe I look weird right now, so let me just talk. And we need to just stop and be quiet and let the moment go.
This is a big one, and I want to triple down on this point. Excellent point. I think many people, like you say, they don't want to be silent and be quiet because being quiet, in my opinion, I think you'll agree, is where the answers are, both the uncomfortable and the comfortable alike. But what people have an issue with is the uncomfortable answers. Because many people, they live by the facades or live a facades of trying to fill in for other people. Now, some people do that with work, and to a certain degree, maybe you have to climb the ranks or to be, excuse my language, kiss ass or
Mhm.
you know, or to do the gossiping and the oh, I try to swear bull shitting, do the
Yeah,
gossiping, and hamstringing people and because so many people that do this, you're living this endless lie. So individuals who do that, I think that's when the silence really makes them irritated and uncomfortable because deep down you could be the master manipulator all you like. Not you, but a person.
right.
What
Yeah,
I meant was, and but in the end, inevitably, in that dark room, in that mirror, is who you are. So when you look in and you
right.
brush your teeth in the morning, you look in that mirror, you as an you well, in this instance, you, me, everybody. When we look into that mirror as people, that's who we are. That's
Yeah,
what we see. And you can't fake that. We all, when we're out in public, we might walk a certain way or we might act a certain way or presence because we have to. Our brain's built to survive, so we feel like with insecurities we adapt this way, based on our own insecurities, right? But I firmly feel for people they don't like the silence because it's a mirror reflection of their own deception in many instances.
that's right. You're left with your own thoughts, and that
Yeah.
gets scary. It's uh, I back in college. This is one of those. I rolled my eyes at a professor and did not want to read his book, and But later in life, it became one of my favorites, and it's a book by Richard Foster, "Celebration of Discipline." And for us believers, it has a lot of things spiritually in it, but I think even a lot of my non-believing friends have found some real truth in it, just in self-reflection. One of his disciplines he's a proponent of there is the discipline of silence, and it's
Yes.
gotten me to at least once a year to take a full day of silence where I discipline myself. I will not say anything, even if
Mm,
it's for an 8 hour period. Maybe I have a dinner or something, but I take that time and I say nothing. And it's
mhm.
painful. It's hard, but I look back on it year after year as sometimes the moment of refreshing reflection,
Yeah,
sometimes the beginning of some of the best ideas I've had, just a moment to reset and really contemplate who I am and
yeah,
where I want to be, where I'm at now.
yes.
So that silence and what we find in it is important, and I need to do a better job of teaching my boys that
Mhm.
discipline as well.
Oh, for sure. Like it's a journey, right, for
Yes.
everybody. But I think if we can get to that part and point where we can learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, that's the secret sauce. And then once we learn to be comfortable, being uncomfortable, at first we tolerate it because we want to change. and then we embellish it when we see lasting, substantial change based on our efforts and how we think and where we need to go, what we're doing wrong, to introspect, to evolve, to become better as a human being. And when we go through those uncomfortable things, at first it goes from toleration to then embellishing, and then total emotional immersion, because then we see the changes that are resulting from the person who we used to be and the evolution of our soul, the person we've become, right?
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. And speaking of emotional immersion, this will tie in
There we
beautifully to
go.
our last one, real quick. So emotional immersion. We'll talk this just for, we've already been in interest of time. Hour and 30 minutes. It's flying by, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Not bad. Just real quick, emotional immersion. What does this mean for you, Joe?
Emotional immersion. I mean, I'm thinking. My thoughts go a couple of ways, and please help me define a little bit here. But I'm thinking either being overwhelmed by our emotion, that we are totally lost in it, to a healthier emotional immersion would be we are completely aware of and
Mhm.
embracing our emotion and using those emotions uh, to lead us, guide us, give us the energy to project what we hope to project.
Oh yeah. Let's triple down on these points first with being overwhelmed, and especially with men. I don't want to sound sexist, but I think it's common knowledge women are much better at emotional control than men are, right?
Mhm.
Now, not in all cases, but the majority. And this is because we have this thing called testosterone
Yeah.
as men. Now, we all know that. But what's my point? My point is based on testosterone, when you combine that with what we may have gone through in our life, it could be trauma, it could be hardships, it could be very horrible, hard things we've had to endure. I've had many of them, and
Mhm.
and perhaps you have as well. But maybe you can relate, but like, and how we've overcome that. That how do I say that takes a long time for us to get emotionally right. So we have to train ourselves as men to, which takes a lot of self-discipline, and we can do it, but we have to train ourselves to, instead of reacting, to respond. We have to stop reacting and respond.
That's good.
And it served me, thank you, and I appreciate that, but it served me very well as well. I touched on going through the family court system, and you know um long story short, I'm going to be very real with you. My I don't like what's happened. I understand the reasons as to why it's happened. Just real quick, I'll touch on my mother-in-law, because who am I to her? With the exception of my child, nobody, because her wife's passed, right?
Right.
With what's the emotional ties, the spiritual ties? Who am I to her, with the exception of my son slash her grandson? Nobody. So I don't like what's happened. I do understand the reasons as to why it's happened. Long story short, my neurodiversity, and I mentioned about the care system. So I've got criminal records because of the care system and all these
Mhm.
things, bad choices. Um, but I haven't been, charged in 10 years. I haven't been arrested in a few years. However, everything was weaponized against me because my mother-in-law wanted special guardianship. And so it's been like a constant tug of war. Now, I'll be honest, I understand and I have compassion for her because she's an elderly lady. And also, and this is where maturity comes into play, her and her wife saved me, because if it were not for them, I would either be in prison, I'll be dead, or I'll be in a mental health institution place. Because after the care system, I was under the supported accommodation system umbrella, meaning that all your conditions are thrown together. You could have a
Totally.
moderate problem, which I do, but you live with significantly worse issues with respect. It makes you effed up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And that's why I say they saved me. And going back to like emotional immersion, as in overwhelm. I was overwhelmed there, but I want to say that I love her and I respect her. I don't like her. I don't like her, but I love her and I respect her because her and her wife, they saved me. Does that make sense? Um,
Yes.
and it was like it takes maturity to do that, but it was also like that's just an example about overwhelm with the emotional immersion kind of thing. And but like also I gave you a long-winded answer there because I had to train my mind going back to learning to respond and not react. I wanted to represent, and I chose to do this, represent myself virtu- virtually in family court. I represented myself.
Wow.
Why did I do this? Because I wanted my voice to be heard in my words. And I didn't care about coming across in the best way. I cared about coming across in a very real, raw, honest, accountable way. The
Wow.
judge, the judge said it was a breath of fresh air. I was the only one that never deflected, the only one that took accountability. That's how I'm winning this case slowly. Does that make sense?
It does.
Um,
Wow.
but also, and sorry if I'm over talking, but also I wish to say that, like, so that's the overwhelmed side, and I'm sure there's many other examples. Out of respect to you, before I go on to my next point, let me pause here and give you the floor of stuff you want
Yeah,
to
no,
talk.
I'm fascinated by hearing this. I love your we need to respond, not react. What a subtle difference that makes the world of difference in
Yeah,
how we handle our emotions and turn them from what could be negative into a positive thing. That's powerful.
absolutely.
Wow.
You transmute all that negativity and you can make it work for you in a
Mm.
positive way if you only learn to calm down emotionally. And you have to, in my case, representing myself, I had to learn to act like them, be like them, like almost be like them so I could outmaneuver them. Because it's a head game in the family court. So remember now, this is a court team, their job, and I understand it now. It wasn't personal. I mean, of course, it feels personal, but it wasn't because they're the court team. So their job is to just paintbrush you and evilly, but just grind you to the ground. And not only did I stand toe to toe with their top solicitors and was cross examined by many different members of authority, by training my mind to respond, not react, but respond, I was not only able to hang with them, I was even able to embarrass them at times. So
Wow.
that that's I'm just using them as an example, but you could apply the same technique to any other. It could be parenting and being a better parent by reacting. Sorry, responding, not reacting.
Funny, yes.
Um, yeah, yeah, too much reacting, but
Yes.
learning to respond. Like a little tip. Um, when my son would sometimes, come and shout at me when I'd have him here, deep breath, and I'll just take 3 deep breaths. I'll go into the other room, and I'll be like, I know I'm going to look ridiculous right now. I'll take 10 of those from my mouth,
Okay.
and then go back. Okay, son, and then I'm training my mind to be slower by breath, and then I'm responding better, not acting,
That's good.
reacting.
Yes.
But going the other way with emotional immersion, it's one thing to take your kids, say, to a soccer game or to you say soccer, we say football in the UK, but or like an ice hockey game or whatever it is, right? A child event. So, and I'm not taking a picture, but it's one thing to be on it's one thing to take your son or daughter there and be on the phone device and just swiping and being distracted by, say, Facebook and your business and all these things, messages, and so on and so on. It's another thing to be there without this and be emotionally engaged.
Yes.
No distractions, right?
That's
Like,
right.
you know, um, and also, I want to say people look at shouting, and it is for the most part that it's a bad thing. But there's instances where shouting can be good,
Oh
as
yeah.
in say your child's swimming, right? Emotional immersion. You're engaged with him. You are wanting him to be a better swimmer. He's going through the laps. Go on, then, son. You're doing great. Come on, son.
Sure.
You're doing really good. That's shouting, but it's positive. It's positive energy. It's positive encouragement, right? So
Yeah,
that's like emotional immersion, you know?
that's right. And that's I think is a strong distinction that we have to realize that that type of immersion or focus, emotional focus, maybe is something our kids need and something we need. Just how often are we there with our kids sitting or they're playing, or my boys will ask, will you just come watch us play football in the
Yeah.
backyard? And they just want me to watch.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
how often I'll go do that and I'll find myself distracted by the latest text or emergency, that I need to. And I'm like, wow, I'm not even here with my kids. I'm missing these moments that they're having, and instead of being fully immersed in what's going on in their life, and that's how we totally miss childhood. And I'm even looking now
Yeah,
with a 17-year-old.
yeah.
I'm so thankful I took moments with my kids, and I have no regrets in that. But I'm looking back like, wow, there were some things I wanted to do we just didn't get to do. It just moved too fast. Life takes over. So, boy, capture what you can while you can.
Oh, for sure. But at the same time, we did have a uniqueness growing up without technology because I think we had to learn to be a lot more organized, and we were much better organized back then. And I'll give you, without sounding cocky, but I'm going to, a textbook example. So before the phones, we had payphones or we had landlines. So naturally, we couldn't just whip out the phone and call someone. There weren't these invented, in like early 90s. You had the massive brick phone, but apart from that, so so my point is, I mean, I remember as a child myself, like 7, 8, calling up on my foster carer's landline phone to my other friends or on the payphone. Most times I go to the payphone, my pocket money, 20p or 10p at the time, of course, whatever, right? And you know, I'll say, yeah, okay, we're gonna meet here. And then so we had to be a lot more organized and time conscious. And by default, because of there wasn't this, we were, because it was survival. It was survival of meeting up with our friends or being destitute and there's nothing going on for that day. As in survival, not as in living and dying, but you get my point.
Right. Right.
Survival as in like all playfulness. Are we going to miss out on the great day with our friends? So we had to learn to be organized, and we were relating from no technology. I think now, and there's many positives to it as well. So we've touched on positives and negatives, but I think we need to be a lot more consciously aware, with an intense emphasis behind not allowing our mind to be programmed by being too lazy. You know,
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, because I remember like, as a kid, and I'm sure you do too, like we have to make our own entertainment and just like knock down ginger. I think you call it different. We knock on someone's door and then you run away.
That's right. Yes.
We call it knock down ginger. I think there's a different name.
Knockdown Ginger. Yeah, we're Ding Dong Ditch.
Ding dong
You can
ditch.
call
That's
it.
it. Ding
That's
dong ditch. Yes, yes. Ding dong ditch.
yeah.
There you go. There you go. Yes. So it's the same thing, but we call it. But I remember playing that ding dong ditch, and then like just throwing stones and see how many ripples we could get.
That's it. Yeah.
And just immersing ourselves in nature and really bonding and flourishing in nature by like really authenticity. Oh, be authenticity in nature, like how authentic we were, and even spiritual, like so spiritual for being in nature, right? The
Yes,
connection.
it is. Incredible connections there. Here's a good example of a contrast on that. My 15-year-old, he and his friends, and he's got a group of about 5 friends that have grown very close. But it all started in an online game
Hmm.
that we allowed because we were able to limit who he played with, uh,
Yes.
boy, that's all they want to do is get together and play that game.
Yeah.
When he first started telling me that, I went back to the '90s and I said, "Well, where do I need to take you?" No, it's online. It's right here, Dad. So they play often, but I kind of insisted several years ago. I said, "Well, it's fine that you do this, but we're getting together with them. So each year now, it's become a tradition. I take them away just before school starts again. And we go away for 2 or 3 days, him and his 5 friends, and we go to our favorite spot on the lake, and they just have fun for 5 days.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
don't
that's
have
nice.
Wi-Fi, we don't have any connections, but these 6 boys now have this incredible connection. They do everything together,
Beautiful.
I think they have found a good balance. They limit themselves to
Hmm.
how much time they're online together. And when
Yes.
one of them says, "Oh, mom said dinner's ready," then he's off. Nobody gives him a hard time. We
Yeah.
know family's important.
Oh,
And so
yes.
I think for our kids, teaching them that there are some healthy uses and ways to enjoy technology, but to fully understand and know someone, we have to
Mm,
be present with them, and
absolutely.
finding those moments of presence, and not just physically together, but attention and
Hmm.
focusing in. Like you said, are we on our phones answering things, looking through Facebook at the game, or are we engaged and focusing on our kids?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. These are amazing points. And I think for you, when you put that forth, even more so being that you're a father of multiple and adopted as well, adopted children, mind you, and the work. And we'll end with this, like just for the sake of time, but the work that you've had to do to not only manage so many children, but adoptive ones at that. And although I don't have multiple ones, I relate to you very strongly in a different way from the care system and growing up in this supported accommodation mental health system thereafter, before it was understood, and now only been in the real world since 29, 8 years. So, does that make sense? So, like, in a different way, the amount of work and efforts I had to put in, and it was like, wow. But I think we can both agree, and I most certainly can, and I'll send you some of my son actually, if you would like me to, the developmental, like the emotions of him, and I think we can
Yeah.
both agree we're very proud of how our children have become based off our efforts. You know,
Yes.
Jeremy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Same here,
Um,
Christopher. Good
I
talking.
hope you don't mind me saying this on air. I would love to do another one with you if you would be open with that. I would love
Yes.
to. You know,
Yes, that'd be great.
I
I'd
think
enjoy that.
I think you're a great guy. I think we've had an amazing dialogue back and forth, and I really would love to connect down the road if you'll be happy with that.
That sounds good. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. All right. I really appreciate your time and your energy, the two most valuable commodities we have on this earth. Much love, much respect, and peace.
Peace. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Jeremy. Take care.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bro. Thank you.